Hello, friends. Welcome to Beverly Unitarian Church's online service this morning. I'm Marcia Curtis. I'm a UU minister, retired, and a member of Beverly Unitarian Church, and I'm on the worship committee. We welcome you, no matter what your religious background is, no matter what the color of your skin, no matter what your sexual orientation, no matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. We welcome you here this morning, and we're glad that you're here. We will have a coffee hour after the service on Zoom, and the Zoom link will be posted in the YouTube chat once we get to the end of the service. We hope you can join us there.
Morally, I was led to nonviolence because I felt that it was the best moral way to deal with the problem. We were seeking to establish a just society, and it was my feeling then, and it is my feeling now, that violence is certainly much more socially destructive, and it creates many more social problems than it solves. So I was led to nonviolence for deep moral reasons. And I turned to it because I felt that it was the morally excellent way to deal with the problem of racial injustice in our country.
There is no freedom, the wise man said, let justice roll down when the poor cry out for shelter and bread. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Hatred will never drive out hate. Let love roll down, roll down. Remember, our hearts can make us great. Let love roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. And let your love roll down like a mighty stream. When brutality threatens our daughters and sons, let peace roll down, roll down. May our voices rise up louder than the guns. Let peace roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. And let peace roll down like a mighty stream. Step by step, one by one, let justice roll down, roll down. They can kill the prophet, but the dream lives on. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream.
I turned to it because I felt that it was the morally excellent way to deal with the problem of racial injustice in our country.
We have come into this room of hope where our hearts and minds are opened to the future. We have come into this room of justice where we set aside our fears to name freely every oppression. We have come into this room of love where we know No lives are insignificant. We have come into this room of song where we unite our voices in the somber and the beautiful melodies of life. As we light our chalice, please join me in saying the unison words for the chalice lighting. We are like candles that offer our flame to others. Our light is multiplied, not diminished. When we come together to tear down walls and to build bridges, our hearts burst with light as we catch each other on fire with our energy, commitment, and love. Please join me in singing "O Freedom."
Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. No more money, no more money, no more money over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. They'll be singing, they'll be singing, they'll be singing over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me. Before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Please join in saying our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We come together each Sunday morning as a community of faith, and the ties that bind us together are strengthened by our sharing of the joys and sorrows that we have encountered in the past week. I invite you to light a candle if you have one, and to enter any joys or sorrows or personal concerns you want to share in the chat room. We lift up our hearts to the Spirit of life. asking for the strength to continue the struggles for justice. We lift up our hearts to the Spirit of love, asking for the sustaining grace that makes hardships possible to bear. We lift up our hearts to the Spirit of joy, giving thanks for all the positive things that have happened in our lives during the past week. And we lift up our hearts in the spirit of friendship, hoping that the ties that bind us together can grow ever stronger. We'll now have a moment of silence for prayer or meditation or reflection. Amen. Please join in singing the first verse of Precious Lord, Take My Hand. The words will appear on the screen.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, lead me near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
He had a dream of a world free of hatred and anger. He had a dream of a love beyond race, creed, or color. He had a dream and he gave it to me. What will I do with it? Who will I be?
I've got to stand up, shout and be heard. I've got to let my heart guide my words. I've got to steady my speed and say, what would it be like if you were king for a day?
He had a dream that all violence would one day be ended. It's free, oh free. He had
day.
Would you feed those who hunger, refresh those who thirst? Would you welcome the stranger and comfort the sick? Would you clothe the naked and set captives free? Would you work for justice to bring about peace? Would you hope for the future, unsure what it brings? Would you have the courage to claim your own
We had a dream that one day we'd be here singing together.
history of dreams?
We had a dream that we're making it happen together.
History of dreams. He had a dream for you and for me. What will we do with it? Who will we be? We're gonna stand up, shout and be heard. We're gonna let our heart guide our words. We're gonna steady our feet and say, what would it be like
If you came for a day,
for a day? King for a What would the world be like if you were king for a day?
The story goes that on the day of that famous March on Washington in 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. was reading from his prepared text when Mahalia Jackson, who was also on the stage, called out to him to just preach it, Martin. And thus the famous I Have a Dream speech was born extemporaneously. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious rapists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, that one day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and little white girls. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places made plain, the crooked places shall be made straight, and the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. We have made great progress since 1963. If MLK could come back now, he would be amazed at the changes since his day in how African American people are integrated into our society. He would be dumbfounded to learn that in the state of Georgia, African American voters are key to the vote. They came out in such numbers that they carried the state for Joe Biden, the Democrat, despite Republican efforts to restrict the vote, which wouldn't have surprised him at all that there were efforts to suppress the vote. I don't believe he would be surprised, though, to learn that there's plenty of systemic racism and hatred and bigotry left in this country. In 1967, MLK gave a sermon about peace on Christmas Eve. In it, he said, "In 1963, on a sweltering August afternoon, we stood in Washington, D.C., and talked to the nation about many things. Toward the end of that afternoon, I tried to talk to the nation about a dream that I had had, and I must confess to you today that not long after talking about that dream, I started to see it turn into a nightmare." I remember the first time I saw that dream turn into a nightmare, just a few weeks after I had talked about it. It was when 4 beautiful, unoffending, innocent Negro girls were murdered in a church in Birmingham, Alabama. I watched that dream turn into a nightmare as I moved through the ghettos of the nation and saw my Black brothers and sisters perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity, and saw the nation doing nothing to grapple with the Negro's problem of poverty. I saw that dream turn into a nightmare as I watched my Black brothers and sisters in the midst of anger and understandable outrage, in the midst of their hurt, in the midst of their disappointment, turn to misguided riots to try to solve that problem. I'm guessing that Martin Luther King Jr. would look at the racialized mass incarceration that starts with the school to prison pipeline and militarizes the war against drugs, which is directed at African American families and communities, even though white people have higher drug usage rates than Black people do. I'm guessing he would look at this raging unfairness in our country and say that his dream was turning into a nightmare again. I'm guessing that he would look at the way that Black people get followed by store security when they try to shop, while white people go unobserved, and say that it was another nightmare. What do you think he would have had to say about the nightmare of George Floyd's murder? Or the tanks and helicopters and police brutality with which Black Lives Matter protests have been met? Or the assault on the Capitol last week by a white supremacist mob? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have so much left to do, my friends, so much left to do. In that same sermon on Christmas Eve, 1967, Martin Luther King Jr. speaks about the redeeming power of love to sustain us in the face of the difficulties and obstacles and challenges that lie ahead in the struggle for justice. The Greek language has another word for love, and that is the word agape. Agape is more than romantic love. It is more than friendship. Agape is understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill toward all men. Agape is an overflowing love which seeks nothing in return. Theologians would say it is the love of God operating in the human heart. When you rise to love on this level, you love all men not because you like them, not because their ways appeal to you, but you love them because God loves them. This is what Jesus meant when he said, love your enemies. And I'm happy he didn't say, like your enemies, because there are some people that I find it pretty hard to like. Liking is an affectionate emotion, and I can't like anybody who would bomb my home. I can't like anybody who would exploit me. I can't like anybody who would trample over me with injustices. I can't like them. I can't like anybody who threatens to kill me day in and day out. But Jesus reminds us that loving is greater than liking. Love is understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill toward all men. And I think that this is where we are as a people in our struggle for racial justice. We can't ever give up. We must work passionately and unrelentingly for first-class citizenship. We must never let up in our determination to remove every vestige of segregation and discrimination from our nation. But we shall not, in the process, relinquish our privilege to love. I've seen too much hate to want to hate myself. I've seen hate on the faces of too many sheriffs, too many white citizen counselors, and too many Klansmen of the South to want to hate myself. And every time I see it, I say to myself, hate is too great a burden to bear. Somehow we must be able to stand up before our most bitter opponents and say, we shall match your incapacity to inflict suffering by our capacity to endure suffering. We will meet your physical force with soul force. Do to us what you will, and we will still love you. We cannot in all good conscience obey your unjust laws and abide by the unjust system, because non-cooperation with evil is as much a moral obligation as is cooperation with good. And so throw us in jail, and we will still love you. Bomb our homes and threaten our children, and as difficult as it is, we will still love you. Send your hooded perpetrators of violence into our communities at the midnight hour and drag us out on some wayside road and leave us half dead as you beat us, and we will still love you. Send your propaganda agents around the country and make it appear that we are not fit culturally and otherwise for integration, and we'll still love you. But be assured that we'll wear you down by our capacity to suffer, and one day we will win our freedom. We will not only win freedom for ourselves, we will so appeal to your heart and conscience that we will win you in the process, and our victory will be a double victory. If there is to be peace on earth and goodwill toward men, we must finally believe in the ultimate morality of the universe and believe that all reality hinges on moral foundations. This is one thing that sets Martin Luther King Jr. into the company of saints and heroes. He truly was able to find love in his heart for the people who bombed his home, the man who stabbed him in the chest, the men who beat him and threw him in jail. Most of us would find it hard to do that. He not only had the capacity to love his enemies, he had the capacity to inspire a movement of thousands of people to find the self-discipline to practice nonviolence in the face of the violence inflicted on them. And that self-discipline is rooted in love, agape. MLK believed the adage of 19th century Unitarian minister Theodore Parker, who said that the arc of the universe bends toward justice. He believed it because he believed that the universe is ultimately moral, that all reality hinges on moral foundations. That faith sustains us. What about you? Do you wish to expand your heart until you, like MLK, can honestly love the white supremacist that stormed the Capitol? Do you, like MLK, believe that the universe is moral and that the arc of the universe bends toward justice? What is required of us if this is true? What is our part in bending the arc of the universe toward justice? Martin Luther King Jr. concluded his Christmas sermon on peace in 1967 by saying, "Yes, I am personally the victim of deferred dreams, of blasted hopes. But in spite of that, I close today by saying I still have a dream. Because you can't give up on life. If you lose hope, somehow you lose that vitality that keeps life moving. You lose that courage to be, that quality that helps you go on in spite of it all. And so today, I still have a dream. I have a dream that one day men will rise up and come to see that they are made to live together as brothers. I still have a dream that every day, one day, Negroes in this country, every colored person in the world, will be judged on the basis of their character rather than the color of their skin, and every man will respect the dignity and worth of human personality. I still have a dream today that one day justice will roll down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. I still have a dream today that in all our state houses and city halls, men will be elected to go there who will do justly and love mercy and walk humbly with their God. I still have a dream today that one day the lamb and the lion will lie down together and every man will sit under his own vine and fig tree, and none shall be afraid. I still have a dream today that one day every valley shall be exalted and every mountain and hill will be made low. The rough places will be made smooth and the crooked places straight. I still have a dream that with this faith, we will be able to adjourn the councils of despair and bring new light into the dark chambers of pessimism. With this faith, we will be able to speed up the day when there will be peace on earth and goodwill toward men. It will be a glorious day. The morning stars will sing together and the sons of God will shout for joy. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. Now please join in singing the first verse of Lift Every Voice and Sing.
every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
And please join in saying together the words for Extinguishing the Chalice. May we never rest until every child of earth in every generation is free from all the prisons of the mind and of the body and of the spirit, until the earth and the hills and the seas shall dance, and the universe itself resound with joyful cries. Thank you, my friends.